Okay, guys, just where we left it for on the part two. I think this topic is very, it's very, very hot, and there is a lot of things to discuss about it. Uh, I would say one of the most important parts, is as long as each one is having their own point of view in terms of the way they work. I think everyone can benefit. So I stopped, I guess, right here. This is what I'd like to do sometimes, split if I'm playing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, split the left side of the formation with the right side of the formation. So this is another way of approach. What's your way of approach, guys, in terms of selecting certain exercises for your training?
I will try
Yes,
to
coach.
keep it to the point. In the beginning, I'm 53. That means I'm already over 35 years of coaching. That doesn't mean that years make you a very good coach, but for sure, experience make you approach things sometimes different, or you and where less is sometimes better than more. What does it mean? I use a lot of video. Not video analysis, but or even concepts in the way I like to play. Why do I do that? If you step back and you see a video, and I became very skillful in to the point, um, giving my ideas in a video to step by step, clear what I want. If a player has that picture in his head, then it's sometimes also easier to translate it on the field. Instead of in the beginning of my career, I did a lot of time in designing exercise, etc. But these days I keep exercises simple to the point, and I do more video in order to get ideas into players' head. Secondly, because I like to play ball possession based football, a lot of things I do in technical development, doesn't matter how old they are. I do a lot of left and right foot development. Um, that means I always compare it. If you have a boxer with one arm, yeah, he will be limited. And football is the same. If you have and I'm talking specifically over the basic technique, that means controlling and passing. The simple control, the first control, 80% of what you do in the game is controlling and passing. And passing, I mean 10 to 15 meters, not the long pass. Um, the second thing, I always will try to incorporate the concept that players need to understand the concept of pressure versus no pressure. That means when a player is under pressure, you need to help. When a player has less pressure, it's easier to position yourself. And whatever exercise you do, and I do a lot of possession games and incorporate basically these principles. And the last thing, sorry, I forgot. I never need more than three players around the ball. That means whenever who has the ball, I need one on the right, one on the left, one in the middle to connect. I don't want more players. The rest need to learn to position themselves. Keep it
Yeah.
simple to the point.
Yeah. Dear, just a small comparison. As I have the same methodology like you in terms of doing a lot of passing patterns, teach them how to make a proper quality pass, the way how I receive
Yeah.
the ball, all this positioning. But in terms of positional games, my book is all about, because there is difference between possession games and positional games.
Yes.
Possession games is just about maintaining possession without actual specific position. This book that I completed is all about positional games. So sometimes
Yes.
I see certain tendencies that coaches have. They like to play 3-4-3, or if they like to play 3-5-2, or if they like to play 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. I try to put everything. How much do you think this content of my book is kind of related to your exercise that you like to decide to work with? How much close do you see it? Those subtopics and the way of approach.
No, one of the things I saw, for instance, the zone between the middle line and the box. I saw a lot of times you had there an area where you play possession game. I almost not every training, but it's something that returns a lot. And either you do it with goals, or you score over the line, or you do it in zones where you have to switch side. Yeah,
Mhm.
these are small details on in yeah which goal you have, with what you want to achieve. But in general. I use a lot either small possession games like rondos, and you can switch side or whatever. Like there, I see some similarity, but I use more bigger possession games where it basically is. Yeah, it's all about positioning. I my main concept is manipulate the opponent, and how you do that. Each coach has his way, each coach has his thing, but I can see quite some similarities. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Coach ZILI.
No, for me, it's kind of what you mentioned in your book that I've read as well, is trying to break down the entire game into small pictures and try to instill behaviors and repetition, doing it in small pictures, and then finally bringing everything together to create the big picture. So a lot of some of the exercises I saw in your book, it actually touches a lot on those topics in terms of breaking down everything in smaller areas and in first and second phases, and then finally adding everything. And that's kind of what I do in terms of the way I like to train my teams, is the same idea. I like to, isolate certain phases or certain pictures of the game, and then try to work on that, and then finally try to expose that and making it sense how it will be happening in a full 11v11 scenario, and then of course exercising that as well. So that's kind of my approach, and I see a lot of those exercises in your book that kind of touches on those topics as well.
That's great to hear. Okay, Coach Eugene.
Furthermore, I would like to add every training session for me, in my point of view, need to be game realistic. If the training session is not game realistic, then us as coaches, we have not nailed the topic, or we haven't been successful in our training. Based in our UEFA license courses, I remember from one of the coaches over there, he mentioned that there are three main components that need to be in a training session. And to elaborate more for the topic itself, the rhythm of the game, the opponent, and the goal. Every training session, at least in one of the activities that we are designing in our training session, sure need to be game realistic, need to have the rhythm of the game. Because if we are having a slow rhythm in our training session, we're not able to cope with it in the real game. So the rhythm is a big one. The second one is the opponent. So need to have those possession games, positional games. Me, how I see it, in my point of view, the technical and tactical elements that we know that are required on the building from the back need to be incorporated in the training session. It can, myself, I speak about my approach, how I run my training session. I can apply building from the back in technical warm-ups. For example, I know that I need to be technically proficient, how to pass, how to receive, how to turn, the movement, the skills that are needed from building from the back. I can use it in functional activities with certain groups, sectorial work or intersectorial work, dividing the training session into different sections. How would I like my left part of my team work, and then how I would work it on the right side. How would I join them all together? Functional activities, positional rondos, possession activities. I would incorporate them in a small-sided game. We know the small-sided game is a big role now. Any tactical principles that we want for our teams to work on, we can apply them in a small-sided game. The players are exposed with different touches, with pressure all the time, physicality, making the right decisions. Also the phase of play. Usually always I end, if I'm working on building from the back, it depends. I'm working high pressing versus high pressing. I'm working versus team.
Yes, coach, do not enter too much into details, but it's more about, as you mentioned, your methodology.
Also on the phase of play, I do work on it. Definitely, if I'm working building from the back is an attacking topic. So when I'm working on the phase of play, if I'm working 11 versus 8 situation or 10 versus 8 situation, including the goalkeeper on the training session as well. Some of the training sessions that
cutting it short. Do you find similarities with my book, the way how you work?
I do find definitely the possession and positional activities and small-sided games for sure. As for the technical aspect, technical approach, there are certain differences that I put emphasis on.
Okay.
Especially on the phase of play, yes. I did see similarities. When we want to build from the back and progress, I see the ending zones, target players, or magnets or small-sided goals to reach. It can be incorporated in different ways.
Okay, Coach Nico.
Yeah, mine just I I like your drills, and then everyone can make the same drill with different goals. So the
Sure.
thing I feedback I can give you, I always try to put inside the positional game the understanding of ball open, ball close. So when there is pressure on the ball, what the teammates have to do, so come closer to the ball. When
Covered,
the ball is
uncovered,
open,
right? Cover ball, uncovered ball.
when the ball is open, we have to go behind the line or be able to cross the line. What I use sometimes are different color beeps to show the player the different line of pressure. So for example, if you make a pressure 2-3-1, I give the two striker yellow beeps, three midfielder, I don't know, red, but just three different lines. So for the players, it's easier to recognize. And then I like to start bidirectional. So from both sides, the ball continue with always a transition. So when you lose the ball, the team in the middle needs to go to score. So reaction. You can use goalkeepers. That's very important in my opinion. And after that, as a variation, you make direction. So the goal is to go in one specific direction. And yeah, these are just feedbacks I give you.
Well, that's great. You know that we are kind of sharing the same ideas. You know, even in my book, I already said to be considered by the coaches. If you're working amateur level, professional level, semi-pro level, if you're working the grassroots, if you're working the youth, if you're working the first team, if you, how proficient is your team, all these things the coach can get the same idea. Because I've been supervisor of coaches and many times, you know, I would like to do explanation for them. But when you have something on, you know, conducted in a book, you know, you can give them different variations. Okay, the last word I would say only for Coach Eelco, considering that he is working with different federations as an instructor. I would like to ask you just a small question, so also all of us to know. We work in different federations. For example, Coach ZILI, he work with German federation a lot and with Canadian federation. Me and Coach Eugene, we work with Albania federation, which is connected with Italy, and with Canadian federation. Coach Nico, I guess, with Italian federation, and you, Coach Eelco, working as a coach, but also as coaching the coach is different federation. What is the your feedback in terms of different workplaces that you've been worked? How much is the emphasis of the build up of on the other instructors or from your side or from different federation? And I would like to invite you
No,
hopefully for another meeting when we'll
I
discuss about
I
those topics.
besides coaching clubs in different countries, I get invited sometimes for this is what is it, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? I was in Uzbekistan. I did 5 days of their pro license. Was invited to educate them. They shared my idea, and the first things that I noticed is that especially when you get in countries that are maybe a little bit less developed, they very are rigid in the way they think. For instance, one of the topic was formations versus formations. So, and one of the things, if another team plays with three in the back, and we are playing 4-3-3, how do you press against them? And I was showing them videos, no, not first video, first illustration on pressing from the outside, so forcing them inside. No, there were two or three coaches who said, yeah, that's not possible. How can you do that? So you could see that they're very behind not in their thinking, but holding on to old-fashioned ideas. So the more federations and clubs and countries are open to learn, and this is one of the things, basically, the message is for every coach, you should always be open to learn. If I look at my main idea over all the years is the same, but my principles, they sometimes change over the years. I either get an extra principle, or maybe one goes off, or one get combined, because I suddenly see a link between certain things where my principle change. But in general, the whole message is be open. You are not there to control football. You're there um, to try to understand football. That is more. That's how I see it. The more you want to control it, the less you will succeed.
Well, that's. I was very happy actually to share this discussion with you guys and share benefit and get another way of approach. I don't know if there is something small within a small sentence, everyone. If you want to say something and advice to our followers or our generation of coaches would like to, who are eager to see this, to follow this discussion. Starting from Coach Eelco, one small advice if you have for our followers who are coaches and they like our methodology, but they're on their learning process.
Basically, what I ended with is that don't try to control football, but try to understand football. Ask yourself really, what is football? What is it actually? Is it? Try to look at it, to understand the concepts, and not try to just look at events and try to control it.
Yes, Coach ZILI.
Yeah, one thing I think is for every coach to get, especially when they're beginning, is to open discussions like this. Now with the access of internet and YouTube and everything else, I think it's very good to share ideas. Learn from other coaches. Doesn't matter the level, you can always learn from multi-leveled coaches. I think that's one of the key things. I think it's important because a lot of coaches get into this game and they have certain ideas and they want to be so closed and they want to protect the ego. But I think the best thing to do is to shatter the ego and always be open to ideas and challenge yourself. Make sure that with other ideas coming in, it always challenges your ideas and challenges your perspective, and that way you can grow more and benefit for everybody. So I think that's one thing that I want to add.
Yeah, Coach Nico.
Try to make the session fun for the players, give intensity, let them play, don't stop the session a lot, because in the beginning, at least one mistake I was doing a lot was when I see something is not working or a mistake of a player, stop and play, no? Try to let them play as much as they can and to make sessions where they're free also to express themselves. You put rules that you want maybe some attitude to appear, but then let them play.
Yes. Yes, Coach Eugene.
For myself, I would suggest for the new coaches, it depends on the aspirations that every coach has, but especially for the beginner coaches, they need to be clear on themselves. They need to know all the aspects of the game, the tactical, physical, technical, social, emotional, psychological aspect. They need to build their own game model, the philosophy and perception about the game. They need to choose the right mentor. They need to read as much as books as they can, try to follow, participate in different webinars to broaden their horizon, to be flexible, as Coach Eelco mentioned, to not be rigid, but to be flexible, and to learn from people who have more experience. Try to participate in different training sessions. Every coach, they have their own subjective mind, how they're working and how they design their training session and how they feel in the training session, but learn from the best. And especially if you want to be at the highest stages, you need to be a full package. So I need to have knowledge on the physical aspect. So I need to stick with physical preparator coaches to have full knowledge. If I need to have more knowledge on for example, on the tactical aspect, I need to stick with coaches who have broader knowledge on the tactical aspect, with game analysis, injuries, and psychological aspect, to be able how to motivate the players, how to communicate with the players. This is all so important.
They're all connected. You're right. They're all connected. But for me, one small thing that I would say, don't be stubborn. Us as coaches, we love build up, but don't be stubborn. It's going to be always failing there. Don't be like, I have to build up. I have to build up. And I see certain coaches, that I've been working with, even they're under me, or they love build up as an idea, but they don't understand that, there is limits. There is limits, about your team. How much is your team have the potential? When can you do it? Sometimes your team is good, but the opponent is just great, The opponent is great. They block everything. They're very compact. You cannot, so don't overload them with something that is kind of impossible for them. Well, it was a great pleasure for me having you guys. I guess maybe in the future, hopefully, if I will be able to have all you guys here, maybe we can do something more practical. Everyone can have their tactical board, maybe on their laptop, and I can allow you guys to share screen. Maybe this can be another future, considering that this is very required topic, and I hope we will have a lot of views. Maybe we can go a bit more specifics if we're able to, because everyone is having their own secrets.
Right. Thank you. Have a
Thank you
nice
very
day.
much.
Guys all. It was a pleasure,
Appreciate it.
guys all.